Reese from Stuart's Kitchens. I'm going to show you how we make our kitchen carcasses. So first things first, we order the material. This is an MFC board, which stands for melamine face chipboard. This brand is Egger. The colour is dust grain. It's a matte finish. The customers handpicked this for their carcasses. It comes in a massive jumbo sheet like this, which is 2.8 by 2070 wide. This one is actually 8mm thick. This is what we use for the backs. We do order them in 18mm thick for the carcasses. This again is dust grey. These are all been cut up and edged, ready for manufacturing. Then once it is all cut up, it all goes onto the pallet in piles, ready for edge banding. These have already been edge banded. So as you can see, this is a shelf for a base unit. Everything gets edged, every side, so there is no chipboard on show whatsoever. That is then ready to be cleaned up and to go into production. Okay, so then once it is edged and cleaned, I give it the final job of putting grooves in, which is 8mm wide, 5mm deep, ready for the backs to slot straight in on assembly. So then when I'm at this stage, I get my Hafele red jig with an 8mm drill bit in the Hafele red collar thing. And then I get another drill with another 8mm drill bit, which is just a normal drill bit with a depth guide, using a bit of masking tape. So I know how far to drill and stop for my dowels. This will have a base that sits on flush with the bottom, which stops where the groove finishes. I'll have a 100mm rail there and a 100mm rail there, and then the back will slot in. Then I'll put the side on top, fix it all in, and that is done. So because I've got a base sitting in here, I'll have 2 dowels, and then I'll have 3 screws in it using these 45mm carcassing screws from Hafele, which are very good. I must admit, first time I'm using these was a few months ago, and I very much like them. So we set the red jig up to allow for the dowels, which are going to be 9.5mm, which is centre of the base panel. That sits in like so. There is a stop there which stops it flush. You do have to set these, but on the side of these are measurements, so I've set it at 9.5mm. We tighten that up like so. And then you get your 8mm drill bit, which again is from Hafele, which are designed for this. This is like a collar size that goes in there, which keeps me perfectly centre. I drill like that. Then I loosen this off. I bring it to the back, but I'm not going to the back of the side panel. I'm going to where the 8mm groove finishes, and I push it up to there, and I'm going to tighten that up like so. And I'm going to drill that one. Like that. So with this being the base panel, this is the bottom. This only has 2 dowels. Then what I do, I flip it round, and now this is the top. I'm going to have 200mm rails here, so I want 2 dowels in each side. So again, I put that onto there. The red jig is fantastic. It does take a bit of time getting used to it. It does get time setting it up, but once it is set, it is absolutely bob on. So again, that's flush with the side. We're all tightened up there. I'm going to put 2 holes in here, like so. These are 8mm holes, which is perfect for the dowels. And then I sit it back on there again, and I come into the groove where my stopper is. The stopper then stops where the groove finishes. We tighten that up. And again, and I'm going to do the 2 holes again. Like that. I then get my rails, 2 rails and my base. The base is going to then sit, so sticker side is always my good side. I then sit that on top there like so, and that's how that is going to be fitted. Yes, there is other ways of doing this. You can just screw straight through. You don't need to use the dowels. I like to use the dowels because it takes me an extra 2 minutes and it lines everything up perfectly. I can sit them in, bob the screws in. I ain't got to worry about altering it, moving it. I can just put the dowels in, it locates it nicely, put 3 screws in, and jobs are good. There is another way of doing it using a pocket screw. I have got a Craig machine that does that, but I just think this way is a lot neater. You don't see obviously the pocket holes, but it is another option of doing it, and it does work great, don't get me wrong. I just like this one because it looks tidier and cleaner. So when you turn up to the customer's house with your units, everything looks fresh and clean. So we then get the red jig. The holes that I've been drilling are on the face. On the side, there's these 3 black knobs, again with an 8mm hole in it. So this lines up perfectly with this. So that is now the side hole of my base, which will then line up with the face holes on my side panel. So face side down, red jig on, again, as we are, tighten her up. We then get our other 8mm drill with our 8mm bit in it, with our depth guide. That goes inside, and we drill that to the masking tape, and then we stop, and then we do the back, and we tighten that one up. We drill that there, like so, and then we do the other side, spin that round. Like I said, there is other ways of doing this, but this is just the way that I've found that I like at the minute. Not to say that I might change in the future, but at the minute I like the way I'm doing it and this system, so I'll stick with it. Okay, so that is my base, the bottom of my 400 lot unit, all drilled. I'm just going to blow out the dust, and we get our 8mm dowels, which are 40mm long. We push them in there, like so. When you're in the rhythm of this don't take long at all. Drop them in so, like that. Then all we do is locate those two dowels in, push them in, and that keeps everything perfectly flush. Then all I've got to do then is put 3 screws in the side there, using my carcass screws, which are 45mm from Hayfley. I do the same thing again with my two top rails, drop the back in it, and just watch this time lapse to find out. So then when we're at this stage of having the rails and the bases all fixed with the back slotted in, then we've got our other side panel, which then needs to go on top. So these obviously have to be handed left and the right hand. So this is going to go basically like so. So I know that this is my base. So I get my red jig and I'm going to put 2 dowels in that, 4 at the top. So I get my 8mm drill bit, set that in there, locate that, tighten that up. I'm going to do 2 holes, one at the front, like so, one at the back, locate it in my groove, tighten that up. Like so. And we're going to spin that round, and then we're going to do, and now we're going to do 2 and 2 for our top rails. These red jigs aren't cheap. I think it was about £350. But once you've got it, you can use it for quite a few different things. I originally bought it for Rafix Fictions, which is basically like a cam and dowel system. And then I realised I can use it for this to do dowels. And all I have to do is buy a new 8mm bit. Job's good. Now I do 2 holes again, like so. And now that is all ready to sit on top of my carcass. I'm going to blow all that dust out. Like so. And then we can flip that over, sit it on our half a carcass, locate our dowels, like left like that, tap them in there, that in there, locate that. If you wanted to, you could put a bit of glue on the dowels. I don't, just for the fact that I can then alter them. If I ever needed to take this apart, I'm not fixed in. All I've got is a few screws. The screws are more than strong enough to hold it, so the glue is just an extra. If you wanted to, you could not use screws, glue it all up, clamp it, leave it, and then you can have obviously no fixings on the carcass, but the screws aren't seen anyway because the units are fixed together, or there's always an end panel. So, yep, so that's it. That just taps all down, like so. It locates perfectly. Now we need to put some screws on that, and then the most important thing is when you fix your backing through the back, you make sure, because this is cut square, this will keep the unit square. So you need to make sure that when you're fitting the top, the back flush with the top, make sure it is flush all the way down. Then you can get your fixings in, and then you can do your back fixings. If this isn't flush, that will then make the carcass not square, and it'll be like a diamond shape. So that's very important that when we fix the back, that is flush to that rail all the way down. Right, so now what I've done, I've just popped them up so I can locate my dowels. Once I know where my dowels are, I put a pencil mark on the top so I know where to put a screw. So that has now been done. Now I'm going to put a screw, 9mm. So that's again half of my rail, half of my base. 9mm. Like so. I've been doing this a few years now, so I don't have to measure 9mm anymore. I can eye it up. Not bragging, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that just then we fix that there. I hear you say you want to test it. Okay, we'll test it. 1 second. Let me bring this camera closer. Let's just see how good my carpenter measurements are. Okay, so I've roughly measured 9mm using my eye, and let's measure that. Oh, 8.5mm. Bob on 9mm. Bob on 9mm. I don't want to say I'm good, but I am good. When you've been doing it long enough, you can then kind of judge measurements just by eye. So then we put the screws in. Using the noisiest DeWalt impact in the world. This is on its last legs. It was going to get thrown away, but then I got my unit. I thought, you know what, it can just stay in the unit because what's the point of throwing it away? It works. So I might as well keep it. So I've done the same thing again. I've marked out where my dowels are. I'm just going to put my 2 screws in here, and then I'm going to do the back. So let's do that now. Quite important that you do keep your screws half of that 18mm rail. If you start going to the left or the right, you are going to split the timber, or the screws are going to come out, which is not ideal. So once these are fixed in, with the dowels and the screws. So what we then do is take all these stickers off. Well, I say masking tape. So when I do my cutting list and I cut it all, we always label up the components so we know exactly what it is. So then we know the process of what we've got to do with that part, if we've got to edge it or not, and what edges need edging and stuff. So very important, the masking tape. And then by doing it on the masking tape, it saves you writing it on the panels, then have to clean it all. So now we get our jig, which is a pre-made jig. A bit of 3mm MDF. That slots in there. That's got all my measurements on. So this is a jig for our shelf pegs. We have 3 holes in 100mm gaps, so they can then put the shelf where they want. We drill this with a 3mm pilot drill. So, making sure that I push the jig in as I'm drilling so I know it's in the right place. And the last one. I'm just going through with a 3mm bit. I will then swap it over to a 5mm and drill those. Ready to accept the shelf pegs and the inserts. So I'm only just going in 2 to 3mm just to mark the hole. This is an indicator where I've got to do my 5mm hole. So that's that. Whenever I'm doing anything, I always try and make a jig So when next time I do something, I've got it at hand, it'll speed up the job. And they get kept down there. So that now gives me my 3 holes from the centre, then 100mm, 100mm down and up. I then get a 5mm drill bit, and I'm going to drill those. Again, I'll put a bit of masking tape on my drill bit to show me how far to drill. I'm just going to drill those now, like so. You can just look at the back of my bowling head for a little bit. Which I'm sure is very offensive, but I don't give 2 fucks. Okay, then just the front 3, like so. And like I stated earlier, we can make carcasses any colours to the customer's required taste. If they want to colour match their carcass to the doors, they can do. Or like for instance, they're having this as a door, this is them panels, this colour Albany blue, and they wanted a dark grey unit, just because they think it's support it contrasted well. Then we get our shelf pegs, and then there we go. I'm going to put them in the middle for now. The customer can then change them if they want to change them when we are fitting. And then the other 2, 4, 6, 8 holes, just because I think they're ugly if they get left, I have these metal chrome inserts that push in, that you can pop out if you want to change the location of your shelf peg. And these I just think these are a game changer. They're nice and shiny and chrome. You just pop them in. They cost pittance. I've actually just ordered another 500 of them. I think it came for about £10. Job done. And it just makes it just from, instead of seeing a 5mm hole, you just see a nice bit of chrome. And then all they need to do is just take them out, tap them in, and they can just take them out if they want to alter the shelf pegs, like so. Then obviously the shelf will go in there. But before I put that in, I'm just going to turn it on its back. I'm going to mark 65mm down, and then I've got my plinth legs to go on, which we're going to do now. These are Hayfley legs, and they're very good. We mark 65mm combo square. I'm just going to pop a line there, as well as there, like so. I've already done this one. This is 110mm up from the bottom, and then we can push that back. We get our pilot drill. We put that on our line with these tabs just hanging over the end of the side panel. I'm just going to mark that hole there, like so. Get my drill. I'm going to get some 35mm screws. I could make a jig for this, just I haven't got around to doing it yet, which would be a lot easier. I could just put a jig on there, drill the 4 holes, job done. But for now, I'm just going to do it this way. Locate that there, like so. And we'll do all 4, then ready for the shelf to go in. Okay, so now the plinth bases are now on. They're all screwed in. All we've got to do now is get the shelf, which is just here. We're going to slot that in. That will obviously go in here, but for transit, we put it in the bottom. Blow that out first. I'll push that in there like so. Take the sticker off, and then I'm going to now get it down there. I'm going to shrink wrap it to protect it, ready to chuck in the van. So now that I've got that ready, all I'm going to do now is put it on my box, which is just my temporary box. It just helps me get a bit higher. I'm going to sit that on there. I'm going to get my rag and my surface cleaner. I'm going to give it a quick once over, even though it's all been cleaned already. I'm and give that final clean, just because it's been dragged around the bench. It's going to be dusty, it's going to have pencil marks on it. We get a good clean. This is very strong stuff and very good stuff. I wouldn't recommend sniffing it. I get this from a local place down the road called Fastening Tapes. They sell all the shrink wraps and all that sort of jazz. So we'll just give everything a good clean, good wipe. Just so that when it turns up for the customer's house, it's lovely and clean. There we go. Then we get our trusty shrink wrap. This is the worst bit that gets me very dizzy. And we're just going to shrink wrap it all up. Like so. A little bit tighter as we come up. Like so. Then when I get to the top, I'm going to chuck in my 4 legs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the Hayfley legs, nice and chunky, very sturdy. Just going to drop that in there. There we go. Very dizzy right now. I feel like I've had 10 pints. So we're on there like that. Let's finish that last bit off. It's all nice and tidy. This is a bit of a rush job, this one, so usually I would have the doors here too, which are going to be a shaker style door in the same colours as the end panels, but they're not turned up. I've got to collect them tomorrow, so I'm just going to send the units out as they are, and then we'll fit the doors on site. Usually I would have them delivered here in time so I can fit them now and send it all out in one. But on this occasion, we haven't done that. So that unit is now ready to be stacked up, ready to be chucked into the van. And that is it, a dust grey carcass, all ready to be shipped out and fitted tomorrow. So that is the bulk of the base units now made. We have a 400 base unit, we have an 800 sink unit, a 900 corner unit, and then we have a 600 drawer unit, which is going to be underneath the hob. And I've got the shallow depth base unit to make 3 wall units and a tool larder for the oven and microwave to sit in. Then they'll be all be shrink wrapped and delivered and ready for fitting tomorrow.